All right, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Mike Desjardins. We are here from the Center for Healthy Living at Quarry Walk. I am accompanied by the infamous Chef Daryl Murphy here next to me. Um, Thanks for joining on today. This is our fourth installment of the Cook with the Chef series that we ran here. Tonight we're doing a fresh portobello mushroom done with a whole wheat penne. Keep it low carb, keep it healthy. There is some options that the chef will talk through on the different types of pastas and what kind of oil you can choose to use for this dish, but it's all fresh ingredients, very easy to make. Again, up at the Center for Healthy Living, we're promoting lifestyle change, healthy eating. We discuss exercise and stress management, and more importantly, how to cook to fight chronic disease, how to cook to stay healthy, and to change your palate and to develop a nice new lifestyle looking forward as we age into our nice, fine bodies here. So, again, thanks for joining the live stream here from Corey Walk. I'm going to turn the mic over to Chef Daryl, and he will start the evening demonstrating how to prepare this great dish tonight.
Okay, so good evening. Welcome to the last installment of Cooking with the Chef. Today, as Mike mentioned, we're doing a portobello stew with a little fresh tomato and some whole wheat penne. So let's get started by just going over some of the ingredients here and what to look for, some utilization and best practices, okay? So let's start with the portobello mushroom. So here we have a portobello mushroom fresh out the garden, all right? And I kept it that way on purpose because I wanted you to see how dirty it can be and how this can get into your recipe, right? So the stem is still on, the gills are still here, and let's talk about this portobello mushroom a little bit, right? So first things first, the stem is edible. However, it can be very woody, very fibrous. So what we want to do is we want to detach that, and we can either do two things. We can save it for a mushroom stock, or we can discard it altogether. All right. So secondly, what we want to do is we want to remove these gills here. These gills are also edible and are perfectly fine to eat. However, they will make your dish a little murky. It will add a little brown tint to any sauces that you don't want to have that tint to it. So what we do is we take a kitchen spoon like this one, and we just softly scrape these gills out, just like that. What we don't want to do is ruin the integrity of this mushroom by scraping a little bit too hard. So just scrape like this. The gills fall to the surface, your cooking surface here. And now what we'll have is a cleaner sauce, a cleaner finished product here. Um, and we don't have to worry about that murkiness or that brown tint getting into any of our dishes, our sauce, anything like that, right? So it comes right out very easily. There shouldn't be any struggle. Uh, if you're fighting with it, you're doing something wrong. You're either holding it wrong, you need to change the angle of your spoon, something like that, right? So what we have here is the gills. Now what I would do is I would take this and rinse it off. And as you can see, we have a completely different type of finished product here. Now all we want to do is just take our knife and cut this into strips. And here you have it, the finished mushroom product for our dish, okay? So in addition to the portobello, the star of the show, we have some tomato that we have concassed and diced. Now, what does that mean to concasse? So what we want to do is we want to make an X on the bottom of the tomato, like so. Slightly, you don't want to go too deep. Because what we're going to do is we're going to add this into some boiling water. And what this is going to do is it's going to loosen the skin up for us. And then we're able to peel that skin right off. So that will stay in there for about a minute and a half. We'll roll it around a little bit. Make sure all the sides kind of get submerged in our boiling water. And while that's going, we'll move on to the other ingredients here. So we have our whole wheat penne, which can be substituted for lentil pasta, black bean pasta, chickpea pasta, or if we want to make this dish completely vegetarian, we would use our zoodles that we have from our last installment, right? So obviously you would have to have the spiralizer, which makes the zoodles. However, a great healthy dish, very, very low in calories, very tasty, very easy to make, right? All right, so the tomato is going. Let's talk about some of our liquid in this dish that is going to make our sauce. We have a vegetable stock. Now, some of you use bouillon, some of you use base. I want to show you and tell you how to make this stock at home scratch. What we have here is onion, celery, turnips, and carrot. What we would do with this is we would roast it off in a 425 oven for about 20 minutes or so until it gets caramelized and roasted all the way through. All of those flavors come through. Give us a really tasty vegetable medley. We would add that to our boiling water here. No, you don't necessarily need to use the same water that you concassate a tomato in. So just for the sake of keeping the recipe moving along, let's say that this did not have the tomato in it, right? We would add those roasted vegetables into this pot, and that would roast for, I'm sorry, not roast, that would cook for about an hour or so. Once that is done, what we would do is strain it, return it back to the pot, and if we see any bits of vegetable left in there that we want out, we will find a more finer strainer, and we would run it through that strainer again and return it back to the stove, giving us our finished product of this vegetable stock here, which we will add to our dish a little later. So what I want to do is show you really quickly what happens when we concassated tomato and peel it, giving us our dice. I'm actually going to let that go a little bit longer because it's not ready yet. All right, so what you're looking for to tell that it's done and it's ready is the skin will kind of wrinkle a little bit. It won't be as firm. The tomato will begin to soften just a little. We don't want it to soften too much because instead of peeling the tomato, we'll just get a mushed tomato, all right, which we don't want, right? And why we are doing this is because we do not want the skin of the tomato in this dish, specifically because the skin can be a little fibrous and there'll be texture issues whenever we're eating it. Unless we cook the tomato to a point where it's mush, which we don't want to do with this dish, right? We want to have some texture to the tomato still. We definitely want the flavors from it. However, what we don't want is that skin because it can be a little chewy at times if you don't cook it all the way through, which we're not going to do here, right?
Chef, and you can use any kind of mushroom with this, correct? Shiitake, regular
Sure,
kind of white
sure,
mushrooms.
absolutely. We're using the Portobello because it's meatier and it's giving us, it's filling that void of not having meat in this dish, right? A lean chicken breast, lean turkey breast, maybe a leaner cut of protein, a steak that doesn't have much fat in it, like a flat iron or something like that, right? Shrimp, things of that nature. So what we have is a nice meaty mushroom that kind of Portobello can only kind of give.
Got it.
All right, so that's what we want. All right, so we'll pull this tomato out, and as you can see, it started to blister here, right here on the side, as you can see. And this is what I was talking about. This makes it a lot easier to peel. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get us some ice cold water. That tomato right now would be very difficult to peel the skin off because it's very hot.
Yeah.
So what we want to do now is we want to get it in some cold water, bring it down to temp so that we can handle it properly and get this skin off. That's also going to shock the tomato and make the skin come off a lot easier as well.
My mother used to do this, chef, when she would make some of her homemade pasta on the weekends. She would do a pasta just with onion and tomato, crushed tomato.
Yes.
And she would, I forgot the word she used, but she would boil it for a minute, throw it into a cold bath, and then come out and the skin would just literally melt right off of it.
Absolutely. And as you saw, it literally takes seconds to cool down. And look how that skin just comes right off.
It just peels. That's
nice
beautiful.
And easy, right? And that's kind of what we want. And that's what we have here. Peeled tomato, diced properly.
Good.
And what we'll do now is we'll get into our dish. I have a lightly oiled pan here. The recipe did call for cook spray. However, I find that cook spray adds no flavor whatsoever, so I chose to swap that out with a healthy oil. So let's get this going about medium high. Make sure that none of our handles are over our exposed flame. We got that going. The first thing we're going to do is add our onion and our portobello to this pan. get it sauteing, get those flavors to release into the pan. And this is another fast-moving dish, very similar to last week's dish, which we all know took us no more than 15 minutes to execute from start to finish.
There was Chef, one of our repeat watchers. His name is Justin. Justin,
Yes.
thanks for watching. I know you talked about the oil, but he might have missed it. So he asked for healthy oils.
Yes.
He wanted like another option if he didn't have any olive oil in the house, and he didn't want to use canola or vegetable.
Right, we want to stay away from canola. We want to stay away from vegetable. What we want is olive oil. And I will tell you, the better olive oils do get a little pricey. The pricier the olive oil, you want the olive oil to be almost tasteless, right? You don't. Sometimes you get an olive oil and it's a cheaper olive oil, and it can be a little aftertaste that you get from that. So you may have to invest in a good olive oil, but we also have options like avocado oil,
Avocado,
coconut
yeah,
oil,
that's
things
right.
of that nature. All right. So you want to have those types of oils. Please make sure we have a healthy oil. We're gonna add our Portobello here. I did use extra virgin olive oil for this dish.
Thank you. Yep, awesome.
All right. So we did lightly olive oil this pan. What we want to do is, because our onions can caramelize very quickly, make sure that we're checking our temp here. We're gonna go down to about a medium heat here, because we don't want those onions to caramelize on us too much. What'll happen is the onions will become sweet, right? And this dish doesn't call for that type of cooking method for these onions, right? So we just want them sauteed to a nice translucency, and then what we'll do is add in the rest of our ingredients, right? So what we're doing here is we have our onions and our portobellos cooking on medium heat, lightly oiled, because what will begin to happen is the mushrooms will begin to release some moisture here, and that moisture will help to cook the onions and the portobellos as well. So we're just going to slightly move this around. I will say, if you see all of the oil absorbed quickly in your dish, then I would say probably add like a half a tablespoon at a time, because we don't want this to become a greasy dish. The olive oil can become unhealthy if we abuse it, right? If we have a dish that's calling for a tablespoon of olive oil and we throw in a half cup, now that dish, the nutritionals in that dish have completely changed, and that's not what we want. All right, so we're gonna just continue to saute. Saute means to cook in light fat, right? Our fat of choice is a healthy fat, olive oil, and we want to just keep that moving around, dancing around. If it sits too long in one spot, what begins to happen is one side of your onion or your portobello begins to cook too much, and too much of the browning that happens there causes a whole flavor change in this whole recipe, which we do not want. So this is already starting to soften up. I can feel the mushrooms becoming a lot more pliable. A fresh sliced portobello is a little bit stiff. These are becoming a little bit pliable here. They're bending a little bit, which we want. The moisture is being released from these, and like I said, once we start this, and all the moisture starts to come out, if we want, we can add a little more flame to this and keep it jumping, right? Keep these things going.
And Chef, for people that like their pasta a little bit more al dente, like less cooked.
Yep.
Right, so they'll cook it fresh.
Yep.
To speed the process up, you can have some already pre-cooked.
Like.
And just don't be sure not to overcook it, because no one really likes a mushy pasta.
Right.
Especially with this type of dish where you need that texture in it.
Absolutely.
But
so the best thing to do in that case, Mike, is make sure we're following the instructions on our cooking for cooking the pasta, right?
Right.
Most pastas will say if you want it al dente, you want to cook it for 7 to 8 minutes. Anything outside of that, you start to play with the integrity of the pasta and it possibly overcooking and getting mushy, like you said.
And I would imagine with a gluten-free or a whole wheat, the cooking time's a little bit different than your street food, like Barilla's or your Pacheco pastas.
Absolutely. I know for a fact that with using some of the protein pastas like a black bean or a chickpea, the cooking time is significantly shorter, because that pasta is very, it's easily turn to mush
Yeah.
very quickly, right?
It's my, you know
The
what?
integrity of it goes very quickly.
That's like when my wife uses homemade pasta. She's like, "Don't go anywhere because I'm dropping the pasta." I'm like,
Right.
"What does that mean?" It'll be ready in 2 minutes. Sit at the table.
Right, and that's usually with fresh pasta, right?
Yeah,
So a
yeah.
fresh pasta, the cooking time is not even
Yeah.
close to a box pasta. So what we have here is a beautiful, great smelling,
That smells awesome.
aromatic onions and mushrooms. What we want to do now is we want to add our tomato. Get that moving around just a little bit. And like I said, we concassate it, so it's already has a little cooking time on it. It doesn't need much more. We kind of just want to bring it up to a proper
That smells
temperature.
really good. Really good.
And then what we want to do is we want to add our 2.5 cups of stock to this. And we're going to turn this up to high. So what I want to do now is I want this kind of reduce, and I want it to take on a stew-like consistency. So I have this up full blast. We're going to bring this up to a rolling boil. You can see it's already happening. And while that's happening, what I'll do is I'll grab our salt and pepper. This is the point in time where we want to start to add our seasonings. So that's coming to a boil now. We have a little pepper. We're going to add about a teaspoon of that to our dish. We have our salt here. And what we'll do is we'll add about 2 teaspoons of that. Okay. Now, as you can see, we have that boil going. Once this is all completed, if we get to a point where we say this doesn't have enough seasoning in it, what we'll do is we'll add a little bit more. But as of right now, we're going to say that this is good to go. Let's move this around a little bit. Make sure that we're scraping any flavor that could possibly be in the bottom of this pan and add that flavor to our stew here. So as you can see, this is coming along really nicely. Very nice. Now, our stock mixed with our mushrooms, tomato, and onion, it did take on a little color. Can you imagine what color it would have took on if we left those gills in that portobello, right? Lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to add our low-fat sour cream to this dish. And at this point, what I would tell you is we will cut this down to a really, really low simmer, because what we don't want to happen is for our sauce to begin to curdle. Anytime you add any dairy, any cream, any milk to a dish, you want to kind of temper it in. If you do it any other way, what will happen is it will begin to curdle, and we don't want that to happen here. So as you saw, right to the middle, give it a quick stir. Got this going. Now, once it's incorporated, you can turn the heat up slightly. I wouldn't turn it up too much though. What we want to do though is just get this to reduce just a little bit more. Now with that sour cream added to that low-fat sour cream added to that, what we'll do is add just a little bit more salt, and then we'll add our pasta to this. What we have here is about 8 ounces of pasta.
And Chef, that was pre-cooked already.
It was
correct?
pre-cooked whole wheat pasta. These kits are available at the Griffin Health dining facility there. We have this so that when you get home, we're saving you some time in cooking. We can get this dish out for the family without the time of, you know, the laborious cooking of the pasta, chopping the onions, chopping the mushrooms, right? Everything is already measured out.
That's the beauty of it.
Saving you a ton of time. So now, don't try this at home. I'm a trained professional. We're gonna just toss this around a little bit. Right? We did lose I think one pasta, right?
One man
One
down.
little
That's all
piece,
right.
one man down. So while that is looking delicious, Mike, can you explain to them, Mike, how this smells?
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's one thing to see it on TV, but to be here and smell it, it's truly amazing. And never mind the fact that you haven't had dinner yet, because me being here and sitting in front of Chef, it just
Exactly.
makes it worse. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, Chef, you can't do this.
Right.
But it's nice seeing the fresh ingredients just go from start to finish. Seeing how you got this onion or this tomato, and then all of a sudden you're like, bam, it's like in the dish ready to go, and you're ready to eat it.
Right.
And I love pasta. I can't lie. Growing up, my mother made pasta, twice a week. But as you get older, you can't afford to eat like that. You have to make adjustments, whether it's whole wheat penne, a black bean pasta, a lentil pasta,
Right.
chickpea pasta. You learn to adjust, and your palate changes, so you get the flavor of the dish versus you're not worried about the starchiness of like a rigatoni. And everything
Exactly.
in moderation.
Exactly.
We're not saying you can't ever have regular pasta, but if you acclimate yourself to different types, you're expanding your food portfolio, if you will, and you get to enjoy food like this. When I was young, I couldn't stand mushrooms. My mother used to make mushrooms, and she'd make these things called fiddleheads. Oh, they looked awful, but
Exactly.
now when the fiddleheads come out, they're a very seasonal vegetable. It's like you can't find them because everyone's buying them because they're really good. So it's a pleasure seeing the dishes go from soup to nuts and start to finish like this. So
And like I said, these kits are available uh, in the dining facility, and it makes it so much easier for you to just take these at home and then plate them up for your families. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna plate this up. So what we do is we'll just take some of this, and then we'll just spoon it into this bowl, right? And then what I'll do is I'll go over the top of it with this sauce that we have here, and as you can see, we have another delicious, healthy, extremely healthy dish: whole wheat penne, tomato, portobello mushroom, a little onion. How's that look to you guys at home, huh? Tasty. Enough to feed a family of 4. We also have kits that will feed a family of 2, or a couple of 2, I should say. And what we want to do is just kind of mound that up right there on top. Take some of that sauce, let it go over the top here. And then we'll garnish with our parsley, and optional,
wow,
we have some
this looks. This is just on point, Chef. That looks really good.
little parsley here. And like I said, optional, you can have some grated Parm cheese to add to that, and there you have it. We have another final product here.
Man, look at this. This looks great. I just went to a restaurant here at Quarry Walk, and this dinner looks great. That's awesome. And the nutritionals were good. Low. The only thing on the dish was some of the carbs, but
The whole wheat penne. So this dish overall is under 300
yeah,
calories,
yeah,
and that's kind of where you want to stay with your meals, especially if we're watching what we eat, and
sure.
we're trying to be the healthiest version of ourselves. So there you have it, folks.
This is it. A whole wheat penne with a portobello mushroom. I call it mushroom ragu, but that's really not what the recipe said. Well, Chef, another great job. This looks great. You guys can see a picture of this. We're gonna have the recipe posted. Very simple. We tried to mix it up for you over these last 4 weeks. We did a chicken dish. We did some salmon. We had the soup with the chicken with
Yep.
the pockets of dough.
The dumplings. Yep.
Yep. Last week we did the zoodles with the shrimp scampi, and this week we're concluding with a whole wheat penne and portobello mushroom. So, again, the goal was to introduce healthier items that people may or may not have thought of to make, easy to do, inexpensive, that could be used for the family. And we made it even easier where you can buy the whole kit at Griffin. So, it doesn't get better than that.
Absolutely.
And may I add, very reasonably priced, by the way. So, you know, we continue to do these types of things up at our Center for Healthy Living here in Oxford. We love teaching things like knife safety, and how to cut things and how to use a knife the proper way, and how to incorporate different types of foods into dishes. One of the ideas Chef and I were just chatting about was putting together another live stream where we just randomly grab stuff out of the fridge and say, okay, what do we do with this? Because we've all been in that boat where we've had a long day at work, we get home, and you're like, oh man, what am I doing for dinner tonight? And we were talking about, oh, I always have an onion and I always have a tomato in the fridge. Well, that's a great start.
Right.
And you go from there. You have a little garlic, bam, you're ready to go. So
Absolutely.
we might be on the lookout for something along those lines. We're going to come back to you with some more live streams. We may even do some in person where people are here. If that's an interest of yours, please reach out to us. You can send us messages through our Griffin Facebook page. You can email my department at mywellness@griffinhealth.org. Me and Chef work really closely together on these things, on the planning. We do corporate events here for small groups, things of that nature. But our overall goal is to teach lifestyle medicine to be able to eat healthier and enjoy your life in a more fulfilling way. So we're going to be signing off. But again, Chef, a great job tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Justin, for giving us the comments and questions. That was awesome. And again, if anyone has any questions after this stream is done, please send them. We'll answer them via email if we have to. And remember, all of our live streams go onto our YouTube page at Griffin Health. So if you go on to YouTube and just search Griffin Health, we have all of our live streams are there. We have a library there you can look from, anything from reading a food label to looking at food labels. Using different healthy oils. And the Mediterranean diet, cooking on a budget and what have you. There's quite a few on there. So, again, Michael Desjardins signing off from the Center for Healthy Living. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Good one.